Commenting a lot on Instagram is huge. It's key. But don't just say, hey, come check out my band. Comment related to the thing. So do not spam people. Hey, so we wanted to talk a little bit about some do nots on Instagram. We did a video on the do's. We did one on Facebook, do's and do nots. Just wanted to kind of tackle this really fast because I see a lot of mistakes happening, and as someone who's had a fair amount of success on the platform, I kind of wanted to share my views on how to optimize that, right? The biggest mistake people make on Instagram is they're not formatting stuff properly for the platform. They're not formatting thoughtfully for the platform. So this can mean a variety of things. It can mean the photos aren't well lit or just kind of blurry, right? Or it can mean they're not using hashtags. I ran an experiment recently where I was posting only with like 5 or 6 hashtags on every post, and my engagement went down like 40%. I normally post like 20 to 30. You're maxed at 30, just in case you didn't know. My engagement went down 40% when I wasn't using a lot of hashtags. And then when I started using them again, I went up by like 40 followers in like a couple days, which is a lot for me, you know? So make sure you're taking advantage of hashtags and using that to grow. And then just generally formatting your stuff for the platform. Your stuff has to look good. It can't be poorly lit. It can't be dumb. It can't be bad, because when you do that, people just don't give a shit. They see through your bullshit and they just aren't going to interact. It's all about the value of the content on Instagram, right? The other mistake I see people making is that they don't have a consistent posting strategy. And that's really a big one, right? Is that a lot of the time you'll see a band who maybe only posts around their record release, or they have their show, like it's pro shot by their friend, and that's great, but then they make 50 posts the day after the show with all the shots instead of trickling it out over time. This is a huge mistake, because you have to think about how the algorithm works. It really caps out at like 5 posts a day is really, I think, where you should kind of cap it. Although you can probably do more if your posts were that valuable and like getting that much interaction. But it's not so much about that as much as it's about like space your shit out. Make sure you have content, you have regular content, because it's advertising rule of 7. People need to see your shit 7 times before they act on it, right? Cool, okay. So make sure they see it. So post regularly. Don't just bomb them with stuff one day so you're annoying. Be there again and again and again and again and again. When you're showing up regularly, you start to imprint on people, and you start to imprint on people, they go, oh, who is this motherfucker? And then they start to find out about you. You start to be able to close sales. You start to be able to get some attention that's meaningful and real, and not just another person screaming into the void, right? The other place where I see people fucking up a lot, stories, right? First of all, you need to be doing stories. My average story has like 10 to 15% penetration on my audience, and even though a lot of it's just like silly stuff, that's good, because stories are supposed to be ephemeral. People aren't going to remember stories, right? So don't overthink them, just run them. Like, if you want 2 easy ways to run stories, all you need to do, okay, is if you look at a post where you can send it to people, you can also add it to your story, assuming it's not a private account. Sick. Use that. Share it straight to your story. Add a hashtag. Always add hashtags to your stories, because that boosts visibility, and that's content for your stories. So the other thing that I like to do is I share what I'm listening to from Spotify to help kind of construct who I am, let people see, oh, Matt's actually really passionate about like Delta blues or 80s hardcore or 90s Gothenburg Melodeath. Like, share that with people, because they enjoy that. They enjoy that level of interaction. You want to give that back and forth with the people you're trying to engage with on sort of a bigger level, right? So Instagram stories, really essential. Do not ignore them, right? Okay. Other big do nots on Instagram, tagging irrelevant people. I see this happen all of the time, that you're tagging irrelevant people, and it's just fucking annoying and dumb at that point. No one wants to get spammed. You know, it's the same reason you don't drop spam comments. I talk all the time about commenting a lot on Instagram. Commenting a lot on Instagram is huge. It's key. But don't just say, hey, come check out my band. Comment related to the thing. So do not spam people. When you spam people, you just, first of all, you're going to get shadow banned by the algorithm. They're not even going to tell you you're banned. You're just going to not get views. And then people are just not going to like you. To circle back to the hashtag thing with shadow banning, if you use the same set of hashtags constantly, eventually you're going to get shadow banned. You can use a lot of hashtags repeatedly, but try to mix it up a little bit. This is why I try to provide a variety of content to on my page, because if I just did Bacon Spits, I think I'd probably fuck with the algorithm. The algorithm really changes minute to minute. It's all like smart or whatever the fuck, so you've got to kind of play with it. You've got to experiment with what works for you, really. But don't spam. have diversity in your content. Don't just post the same thing, even if it was working for a week, because after a point it's going to stop working. And don't oversaturate all at once. Instead, trickle stuff out. And if you keep that in mind, your Instagram is going to grow. Peace.